Hey there, it's Lisa Mino, and I'm so excited because I get to interview Renee Rose about her new book. And Renee, we've never met before, so I'm kidding. Renee and I have written many books together. Here are some of them right here. So we hit it off like the minute we met, and I was going to ask you some questions about your author journey as well as your new book that is on, it's nonfiction, not on werewolves like we write together. So welcome, and just tell us a little bit about the book and why you wanted to write it.
Yes. So this book, it's called Right to Riches, 7 practical steps for seven practical steps for using abundance mindset.
I feel like I should be holding it up right now, but I don't have a physical copy.
Why do I not know the title? In your author career or something? It's got a great title, I promise.
It's got a great title, guys. You know what?
Can't seem to say it right now.
When it comes out in October?
Comes out October 11th. Although I'm just writing the conclusion now. So I'm, for once in my life, I'm done way early. I love it.
Awesome.
Yes. So this to me is a culmination to my life's work to this point, is how it feels.
That is awesome.
I've been an energetic journeyer since college. So many years. And I've been a body worker. I do energy work. And have just been into law of attraction and manifestation forever and ever and ever. Like I found Abraham Hicks, I guess, right out of college. So like when I was 22 or something like that. And then, have fed the fire from there. And of course, as you know, along with you, have been using it in our author career, our fabulous books.
Yeah. So I know I was going to ask you about your journey, but I actually want to talk about mine a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the first time we met, we were like, zoom. It was like, you're my people, which was great to feel. I was brand new author, made like $50 on Amazon and was like, I'm doing it. And we right away connected and started kind of co-marketing. Like, you do newsletter swaps, you talk about newsletter, you talk about marketing, you talk about publishing and how to work with publishers and what books to write. And we would beta read each other's books, and it was great. And it was a huge block that I had to remove just to be creative and start publishing and writing books and believing that I could do that. And I wasn't making any money because there were a few more blocks that I dealt with to allow myself to make money and be successful. And I have to say, when we were met, I had gotten through the publishing, the blocks to being creative, and I was starting to write and publish, but you really helped me add the money, which is nice. And I do want to say,
no, but you already knew you wanted it. I think that's what I recognized. We had this similar vibe of like, I'm going somewhere and I'm going to get somewhere. Like
yeah, but I had like to get to when we met in a hotel, I had like no money in my bank account to go to that conference. They comped me my ticket. I was like, sure. I drove up there and they were like, okay, we have to put a debit on your credit card for incidentals. I'm like, there will be no incidentals. And they were like, well, we have to like put a hold. And I was like, here it is in cash. I had nothing in my bank account, but I was doing it. I was an author. And then we started co-writing, a couple of years later, and co-writing our Bad Boy Alpha series. And the book had made like $1,000 maybe. And we were like, this is our $1 million series. Like, we believed. And now it is. I mean, we were joking when we said that.
Yes. I mean, I still remember you even like when we were making, I don't know what we were making, but we were excited by it. And you were like, we're always going to, maybe we'd made 5,000 or something. I don't know. Actually, we, from our second book, we hit pretty low. So I don't know, maybe that's not true. But I feel like, I remember you saying like, we make 30,000 a month. And now it's like, just so like, we always make 30,000, it's like so easy.
Yeah. Yeah, we spend 30,000 on ads
yeah, right.
to make like many times that.
Right.
So, no, I really think though there were these money blocks that I had, and you just adjusted energetically, and we were able to talk not just about newsletters and business and marketing and writing and craft and the characters, but also about the woo-woo side and the energy side. So tell us a little bit about what the book kind of addresses when it comes to mindset, intuition, and stuff like that.
Right. Well, so the book is, as the title indicates, it is 7 steps for manifesting for your author career. And it starts with the clearing. Like everybody has no. So when I saw you, what I recognized is that we had a similar ambition. I recognized ambition in you, and I had it too, and so that's why we resonated. And I think everyone has it. Like they have dreams for their career, they want things, and yet there are these energetic blocks that hold us back, or limiting beliefs, all of those things that a lot of times are not in our conscious, like we're not completely conscious of that they're holding us back. We just function from them on autopilot. Mm-hmm. And so the first step is really like digging in and finding what those blocks are so that you can clear them. And the more, and it's not like it's like one and done, like you can go, sit down, clear them, and then you're good to go. It's like the onion layer, where it's a constant process of, the bigger your goals get, the more the blocks come up to try to stop you.
Yeah. And I actually just used the metaphor today. It's almost like you're holding up your hands. It's like the abundance wants to flow in and you're like, whoa. No. And sometimes you just block it. Sometimes you let a little bit in. You're like, okay, just this much, and really, I think the universe is like, okay, if you don't want it, that's okay. Like, we'll give you a little bit, just like a little kid can only do a kiddie cone ice cream cone. Because if you give them the big adult one with, 15 scoops of ice cream, it's going to fall and
they'll cry.
You can't eat all of that. Yeah. And it's upsetting. So the universe is like, okay, we're not going to fire hose you and kill you. Like, we're just going to give you a little bit. But the thing that makes us kind of shrink that is fear. And oftentimes the fear comes from when we were little kids and we we weren't adults. We couldn't make conscious choices about having money in our bank account. We just heard our parents arguing about money when we were 2 and we absorbed it. So
it's like fear. And there's also like the worthiness piece can be like how much you think you deserve plays a huge part into how much you can receive.
Right.
And so of course you think like logically, you're like, of course I deserve success, but you may not actually be an energetic match for that.
I had a friend just text me. It was really cool. She was like, hey, I just went over $1 million this year, gross income. And I was like, yeah, awesome. Congratulating. And then I realized she had said gross income. And I said, by the way, it counts.
It all counts.
Whether it all counts.
That's like, right.
Even though, because we do that, we're like, well, I hit the USA Today, but it was in a box set. Or I'm published author, but it's an indie. I'm an indie author. Like, yeah, you're diminishing it because you don't feel worthy, because you don't feel like you deserve it. And so how does your book address some of this?
Yeah. So step 1 is clearing the deck. So it's like clearing out all of the blocks, the limiting beliefs, so that you can make space for your intention. So step 2 is lighting the fire. So you're going to get clear on what you want, and lighting the fire is like getting joyful about what you, right? Like feeling the pleasure of it, really like resonating with the energy of what you're looking for. It's like inspiration, right?
I love that, because instead of it being like, well, I should want to be traditionally published because that's what my English professor would have wanted, but maybe that doesn't light your fire. Like, so is that really the goal that you're going to like work towards? Not really.
Right.
But you're like, ooh, I want to write werewolf romance.
That lights your fire. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I also love, one of the things you really taught me was, even when we were talking about newsletters and autoresponders and workflows and mailer light, you would talk about using your intuition, like feeling into it.
Yes.
And that is not something that people in business talk about, except Sarah Blakely, who is one of the few women billionaires, one of the first women billionaires, she would talk about like, no, let me go vibe on it. And everyone's like, I don't know what that means. All these businessmen in this group were like, what do you mean vibe on it? And then she started making like billions of dollars. And they're like, how do you do the vibe on it thing?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a huge proponent in trusting your gut over listening to conventional advice, which doesn't mean conventional advice is right or wrong, but only you know if it's right or wrong for you. And so there's a number of methods I teach in the book for how to tap into your gut and how to trust your intuition. But I use it, like you said, I use it in all aspects. I use it for ad spend. I use it for release dates. I use it for what to write next. I let it really guide me.
So if someone's new to this and they're like, well, that sounds like woo woo, but I want to try it, because the flip side is, I think we take in a lot of advice of what we should do. And, our English professor was like, well, you have to write a Pulitzer Prize winning novel. And then you're like, well, if you write werewolf romance, you can only write werewolf romance. I mean, that it comes from all sides. And then there's a fear of missing out. Like, I'm going to do something wrong, and you get stuck. So it's nice to be like, okay, toss that out. You have the smorgasbord of options, but how do you start? Like, if you're not used to listening to yourself.
Yeah, there's a couple ways. One of the easiest ways that I love is asking a yes or no question and feeling if it's light or heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So, if it's light, follow it. If it's heavy, it's a lie, it's not right, it's a no, So anytime something feels heavy, either you're thinking something wrong or you're taking the wrong step, you're on the wrong path. Like, if it's heavy, you need to dig into why it's heavy.
Yeah, I even feel that, this was something I was actually able to do. Like, I do feel whether it's light or heavy. And when you're saying, I should do that, clunk, it feels very heavy. It's like, oh God, I don't want to. And what's hilarious is tomorrow, that same thing, I should send that email. And then you wake up the next morning, you're like, I want to send this email or do this TikTok video.
Yeah, there's no pushing yourself. It just happens.
Yeah.
The energy's aligned. You just find yourself doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not overthinking it, and you're not thinking I should do this to check a box or because someone told me to. And I mean, there's a lot of advice. I think when you really are like, oh man, I want to do this thing, sometimes like you and I, we went out and we just sought so much advice, and then there's all this conflicting advice. And I see newbie authors, and even, people who've been authoring for 10 years, they get tired. They're like, oh, another thing.
Yeah. There's so much to do. Another like just intuition is different than a light, heavy, that's super useful, is just to pay attention to the ideas that drop in your head that are not related. They're not connected to the previous thought, right? So when an idea drops in your head out of nowhere, that's your gut talking. So those are money. So when that happens, know that you've been spoken to.
That's really cool. Cause that's like when you're taking a walk or you're in the shower or you're zoning out a little bit, like waking sleeping state. And you're like,
yes.
Yeah. It's for me, I'm like, well, that's when my subconscious brain just like breaks through. And it's like, this is the answer to the problem you've been spinning on for weeks. You just need to just kind of stop and listen and let it happen.
I've heard it said that like anytime there's a problem, all you need to do is lie down for 5 minutes and you'll have the answer. Like the answer is always there for you.
I feel like that's true. I was taught that when I was playing the piano, and they're like, don't try to pickaxe your way to playing this measure of music. Practice it, and then go away from the piano and let your brain, your muscle memory come through.
Yeah.
And then you go back and you can actually play it perfectly.
It's an integration. Yeah.
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 So all right. October 11th, we can find Right to Riches.
Yes. I'm also teaching I'll be doing a workshop on digging out your wounds that you're functioning from as an author at both RWA in July in DC and at NINC in Florida in
September.
Thank you, September.
Yes.
So
Awesome.
I would love to see everybody there.
That would be awesome. I will be there. And look up Renee Rose, Right to Riches. And you can also find her in Author Abundance Central on Facebook. And I'm in there too. And we talk about all things abundance. And it's more about intuition. It's authors in there, but it's less like the business and the marketing talk and more of using intuition and celebrating our wins
Yes.
and talking about how we're working through our money blocks and stuff like that. So join us there too.
Yes, and upgrading our leveling up in terms of like our worth and our self-value and all of that. Yeah.
And deservingness. And if you have a big old goal that you've just done, we are all there pretty positive and celebrating it. And we will not think you're weird if you say, this is my $1 million series. So we'll be like,
that's right. We will say, hell yeah.
That's right. The sky's the limit. And next, I have all my props here. Like next, you'll have your movie deal.
I'll
I
have
need
that.
to fight Bad Boy Alphas on here. Take 5.
Totally.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Renee. And we'll check out the book.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.